not previously been electronically filed.
Okay. Can you go ahead and distribute that? Thanks, Chuck. Okay. While staff's distributing that, we can get you sworn in. Want to go ahead and turn the microphone on? It's the button on the right. There you go. Make sure you're speaking into the microphone. Feel free to move it around, however you're comfortable. Okay, you go ahead and raise your right hand. Do you swear and affirm the testimony you're about to provide is true and accurate?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Art. Mr. Moser, have you previously filed a direct testimony and rebuttal testimony in this matter?
Yes.
Do you have some items that you wish to clarify?
I do.
Okay. First, if we could draw up Exhibit 9. Can you identify for us what that picture shows?
Yes, that highlighted would be, there's a, oh, there we go. Which button's mine? I have a 35 acre, I actually have one parcel in the middle. My landlord, they own the parcel to the west and the two parcels to the east.
So how many total acres are in that rectangular area?
160. Need 1 full mile of that pipeline.
And can you identify for us where the proposed pipeline would go through that 1 mile area?
I've seen some pictures. I believe it's about right in there is where they want to cross 510th Avenue. It comes across. Yeah, I don't know. I'm real steady. Right in there, anyways. Where the last that I've seen, anyways.
And is that all in a floodplain?
Yes, yes, it is. It's probably the subject to some of the worst flooding around. I have a creek that comes from the northwest, and I got the river down here. I've had some of the 91, 93. In 93, there's a bridge right up here It was shut out in 91 and 93.
Mr. Moser, when you're making references up there, can you just try to make sure you're using words so that later we can pull it up on the record? So describe that however you would like.
And Your Honor, since the floor was already interrupted, I'm going to object.
Okay.
I was giving us a little leeway to see if we were actually getting to some sort of clarification or correction on this exhibit, but what we're eliciting now is just explanations of the exhibits that could have been made in direct testimony or maybe reflected in other exhibits is simply supplemental direct. This is not a correction or clarification to the exhibit or the direct testimony.
Mr. Goodwin.
I will proceed. I'm just wanting some clarification. If we look at that same exhibit,
so just for clarification, we are limiting the corrections to corrections. Mr. Murray, did you have a comment or? No worries. Just want to make.
I forgot to take it down.
It's all right. Sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Goodwin.
in that exhibit, do we see the Des Moines River?
Same objection, Your Honor.
Yes, do.
This sort of explanation of the exhibits could have and should have been made in the pre-filed direct testimony. This is not the time to elicit new information about the exhibits that were pre-filed. This is for corrections, and this is not, clarifications. This is not what we mean by that. Eliciting explanations of the exhibit that could have and should have been done in the pre-filed testimony.
Mr. Goodwin, what type of correction are you trying to make here?
Just so that we understand the location of the parcel involved.
Okay, so that's... Please move on.
Thank you. Would you also now, let's look at Exhibit 17. Can you identify for us what is shown in Exhibit 17?
Yes, I can. That is 510th Avenue. This was blown, that road blew out. To clarify, the county said it was, the road is 60 feet wide. That hole, it washed out more of that road than it shows there. It was 200 feet in length and over 15 feet deep. So that would result in an exposed pipe in my eyes.
Now, do you have a video of Exhibit 17?
I do. I would like them to see it.
And what is going to be seen in that video?
The water rushing through that hole.
Okay. Can we play the video, please? Is that the extent of the video?
Yes, it is. Yeah, and you can see that it basically the river tried to cut a new channel. There is what happened.
Okay. Let's look to page 7 of your direct examination and line 5 and 6. Do you see where it says Do you have concerns in regard to the contacts or lack of contacts you have had with representatives of Summit?
Yes.
Do you have some modification and update in that regard?
I do. They just were, we referred them to talk to our attorney. I think it was probably the second or third land agent that came around. We referred him to talk to our attorney because everybody kept saying you need to have an attorney look over that easement, and they never. We referred at least 2, if not 3, land agents to Mr. Goodwin, and they all failed to. Nobody talked to him.
And have you looked at the Palo Alto County Survey Contact Report filed July 27, 2023?
Yes, I sure have.
And we have proposed exhibit, which is page 6 of 8, and we have that shown. I'm sorry, it's there. Will you tell us what is shown in the exhibit that's now on the board?
I sure can. This is pretty frustrating, actually. I'm going to try to keep it professional here. My dad passed away November 4th, 2020, and Summit is claiming on 11/21 they left him a voicemail. On 11/11 of 21, they called him by phone. On 12/22 of 21, they claim they talked to him in person. 4/21 of 12, talked to him in person. Well, I'd like to have been there for that. I'd give anything to see my dad. 9/29 of 21, left him another voicemail. And 10/5 of 21, they sent him a letter, and they claimed to have talked to my mom a few times, which did not happen. I could get phone records if need to, so.
I count 8 times they represent that they talked to your father.
Correct.
2 times in person.
Yep, correct.
And he'd been dead for more than a year for each of those contact times.
Yes, correct.
I would offer into evidence the direct testimony and rebuttal testimony of Jamie Moser, Exhibit 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. And the video that we saw and this exhibit that we have in the monitor right now, which is an entry of July 27, 2023, page 6 of 8 of Palo Alto County Survey Contact Report.
Objections?
Just a clarification. He said direct and rebuttal. I believe there's only one set of testimony for Mr. Moser. Is that?
We're double checking. Mr. Whippel, did you want to weigh in as well?
Just waiting for cross, Your Honor.
There had been a clarification at one time. There were 2 Exhibit 20s, and then we corrected that to have Exhibit 21 in the rebuttal testimony.
Rebuttal testimony was filed on August 25th. Okay. Are there objections? You need a minute?
Yes, for some, and I apologize. My binder here does not have the. Oh, yeah, October 25th, August 25th was just the corrections. No objections. Thank you.
Seeing no objections, the board will admit the evidence and give it the way due.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Whippel, you're first.
Just a couple questions, Mr. Moser. With regard to the video we saw of the flooding, are you in a designated floodplain district in the county?
Yes, I am, yep.
Does that district prevent development in the flood district?
I would sure think it would. I can't build a house there, so.
Has Palo Alto County granted a permit to Summit to develop in the floodplain district?
I don't believe so. They actually put a restriction on it.
Do you know if an application has been made for such a permit?
Not that I know of.
Thank you. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you. I'm not sure who had their card up first, but Representative Eisenhower.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one question, Mr. Moser. In one of their exhibits, Summit Carbon Solutions says the project, quote, the project will play an important role in reducing greenhouse gas emissions in the effort to combat climate change, unquote. One result of climate change being increased flooding. Did at any point in the time of your conversations with their agents, did they present that as one reason you might want to support this project and win your support for using the land for purposes of the pipeline?
Objection.
State your objection.
All the same objections on friendly cross, plus this is beyond the scope of the witness's initial testimony.
Representative Eisenhower.
I'll withdraw the question.
Okay. And that's your only question?
It's my only question.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Taylor?
Thank you. Regarding this floodplain area, can you grow crops there?
Yes, corn, soybean, yep.
And is it tiled?
No.
Tile wouldn't do any good with it.
Tile only wouldn't do any good down there.
Okay.
Might hurt you more than help you.
Did you discuss with any of the land agents your concern about them going through a floodplain and how they would actually construct in a floodplain and what the ultimate issues might be with constructing the pipeline in a floodplain?
Yes, we definitely did. We actually met with them with a couple supervisors. I don't remember the date.
You mean county supervisors?
Yes, yep. And, trying to get them, we showed them pictures and stuff, trying to tell them, anywhere but right there. I mean, this is like the worst place you can put a pipeline. We told them, they can go south of the river, which is we have proof it's still within the corridor. And they just kind of act like, well, you're just going to have to live with it. So, I mean, we tried to talk them, out of there. They need to go somewhere else.
So, if I heard you right, they could go south of the river and that would still put them on their basic route?
Yeah, in the floodplain, there is a part in there that's not actually in the floodplain, even on the south side. It doesn't flood near as bad. 510th Avenue, I've never, in my lifetime, I've never seen the road washed out south of the river. I have several times on the north side. And actually in that video, the county filled that hole with riprap and stuff, and the county engineer said that and that's roughly where they want to run their pipeline. They said the county engineer said that they will never bore through that, but we tried to tell them that, and they took it with a grain of salt, I think.
Okay.
I don't think I should say it didn't go to higher up. It was Turnkey Logistics is who come and met with the supervisors, and I don't think it went any further than that.
Yeah. Did you have any other concerns you expressed to the land agents other than the floodplain issue?
No, not really. It just needs to be out of that floodplain. I think it needs to be the shortest route in and out of that floodplain that they're taking, and they're not taking the shortest route.
But they would not consider any alternative location?
They told us that south of the river was not in the corridor, which we've actually got proof that the county got a letter that it is in the corridor, and they said it was not. So,
okay. Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Thank you. Ms. Coles, your placard was up and now it's down. I just want to make sure we don't miss you.
I just had one simple question. Are you aware, did they do any geohazard survey on that property?
I know they surveyed. I don't know about geohazard. I do not know about that.
So you don't know the conclusions or anything?
I do not, no.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Murray?
Yes. Mr. Moser, based upon the best information you have, are you aware of what Summit plans to bury the pipeline as far as depth goes?
I was told 4 feet. Be a 24-inch pipe would be buried 4 feet to the top of it.
Now, that video that was played earlier referenced a pretty heavy rain event.
Yes, yep, several rains, and yeah, we get the Des Moines River. It starts clear up in Minnesota, and we don't even have to get the rain ourselves. They get it up there, and it comes down. And something I might add too is that is Des Moines drinking water.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
With respect to these heavy rains, let's just talk about a moderate rain. What kind of cuts would you see in the property that you observe as a result of, say, a moderate rain?
Oh, moderate rain won't do that much to my property. It's fairly flat.
It is in regard to those heavy rains?
Yeah, the heavy rain is way worse. And like when it flooded there, to clarify, that water probably sat there for 3 months. I mean, some of my pictures I have as exhibits were probably a month old. I have one of my kayak. It was probably a month after that water started going down. I mean, that water sits there forever.
And I bet you, I'm having some difficulty with my mic. Are you ready?
Seems to be okay now. If it gives you any more problems, we'll find you one.
I'm going to take you back to 1993. Were you farming that ground at that time?
No, my dad was.
Do you have recollection of that time frame as far as rainfall goes?
Oh, definitely, yeah. That was a bad year.
So from 93 until present, that's a nice 30-year time frame. Can you tell us how many heavy rains do you suppose there's been that affected that ground over that 30-year period of time, including 93?
Oh, boy, it's been a lot.
Let's just approximate a number.
Oh, probably half of them. It's a lot. I left John Deere about 10 years ago, and I lost everything down there that year. I mean, and I've lost some crop. Even actually this year, on a dry year, I had to replant 40 acres way up in there, and some corn, probably, 10, 15 acres of corn I had to replant too. So
over those 15 years or so of heavy rains, can you give the board an approximation of the cuts in the ground resulting from those heavy rains?
Oh yeah, that last flood, it tried to cut a whole new channel across my field. I mean, if there was a pipeline in there, if that pipeline was trenched in, it would have took that trench out. And me and my dad, we spent weeks trying to get that ground farmable again after that rain. It was the worst one I have seen. And our river's getting in worse shape, so the flooding is going to be more often. And
how deep are those cuts that you've observed?
Oh boy, they were probably 2 foot or so.
Okay. Now, you've mentioned this alternate route south of the river. Same question. Have you observed similar kinds of cuts there or no?
No, nothing like on the north side of the river.
The risk of these cuts in the south side of the river is not there.
Right, correct.
And just that I'm clear and understand, to the best of your knowledge, after you brought this up to Dakota Access, what information do you have from them that shows that they explored this possible alternate route?
I don't know if they ever did explore an alternate route.
They just put it where it was, and that was it.
Right. Yep. My understanding was they were required to have an alternate route, and we've never seen it.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Thank you. Mr. Jorde.
Just a clarification there. You had, I think Mr. Murray mentioned Dakota Access. Were you meaning Summit, or do you also have Dakota Access there?
No, I noticed that too. I
just wanted to make sure. I think
don't have Dakota Access. So.
Okay, so it was Summit who's failed to reroute.
Yes. Yep.
And how many hours, sir, do you think you have invested, you and your family, on this topic, this proposed project, since you first learned about it?
Oh boy, it's a lot. It's a lot.
More than 100 hours?
Probably. Yep.
And have you ever been offered compensation for that?
No, I have not.
Related to safety and risk and hazard analysis, has Summit specifically provided you or your counsel any of that data for you?
No.
Would that type of information be helpful to inform you of the risks and plans you would have with the land and your family?
No, definitely.
State your objection.
Same objection as to Mr. Murray's earlier questioning. It's both friendly cross for all the reasons we talked about earlier and outside the scope of anything in the direct testimony or anything that's come up in the prior examination.
Mr. Jorde.
Well, I don't think outside the scope is an objection for cross-examination. He's allowed to update his testimony pursuant to board rule, and I'm asking him an update question here based on Summit's testimony.
Scope is absolutely relevant to cross. It's meant to be in the scope of the direct.
Okay, Mr. Jorde, can you get to your question that's within the scope, please?
Yeah, do you have any concerns relative to the lack of risk, transparency that Summit has failed to share with you?
Oh, definitely. I'm a firefighter. I mean, I definitely do.
And as a firefighter, is that a volunteer force, I take it?
Yes, it is. Yep.
And how far away, how long would it take, do you think, the volunteers from first call to assembly to get out to your place in the case of an emergency?
Oh, yeah, you're looking at 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. It depends on who's around. We're a small department. Sometimes you get a holiday weekend, people are gone, and it's hard to say, really. But we're about 5.5 miles from my farm where the pipe would go.
So Summit, both in your role individually as landowner and in your role as a first responder, has not provided any of the risk data to you, is that right?
No, not to me or the fire department.
All right, thank you, sir. Nothing further.
Thank you. Ms. Hyde?
Ms. Jamie, is there anything else that you want the board to know as it relates to this hazardous CO2 pipeline project?
Well, I do want
to state your objection. Hold on 1 minute.
Again, I've been trying to let this go because questions coming from layperson landowner. But do you have anything else you want the board to know? Is just not proper cross. That's just inviting additional supplemental direct.
Ms. Hyde, can you contain your questions to the testimony or previous cross, please? Take a moment. Go ahead. Don't feel under the pressure.
That's the only question I have.
Okay. Thank you. Mic's still on. Okay. Question?
Mr. Moser, just for I just want to make sure that the record's correct, because sometimes, so my birth name is Joshua, but everybody says Josh.
Yep.
Your dad's name was James, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Is your birth certificate name Jamie?
No. Jamie?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's not
Right.
James, but they call you Jamie or anything. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, it's actually, for it to be correct, legit, it's Leo James Moser, but I go by Jamie, so most everything is Jamie.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify because they were somewhat similar. So just for the record purposes, and I would just say to our tech folks right now, we're getting some sort of a weird feedback coming through these microphones. I don't think it's just any one of these. I think it's the system. But just FYI, it's a little disturbing. But thank you.
Okay. Ms. Hayek, did you? No. Okay. Just checking. Thank you. Mr. Goodwin on redirect.
Mr. Moser, you were asked about rains, and have you had observations of whether the water stands on your land, and any concern that would cause for a hazardous pipeline?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. When we get a heavy rain, I mean, we've had, anymore you get these downbursts, you get 10, 12 inches at a time, and oh shoot, that can sit for months. I mean, it can sit for a month or maybe more. I mean, it's, yes, definitely can saturate that ground with something terrible, you know. And you won't, and once the water goes down, you still have your water table of the river or whatever. I mean, the water's barely underneath the dirt, so.
Will standing water restrict the access of Summit Carbon to the pipeline in case of some issue?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. You'll never get to it if you get a heavy rain. You'll never get out there to work on it for probably a month or two. I mean, maybe 3 months. Who knows?
You were also asked about the land to the south of the Des Moines River. Do you know who the owners are on some of the land south of the Des Moines River?
I do, yes.
And do you know whether or not they have objection to the pipeline?
No, they do not.
I have no further questions.
Okay, thank you. Before you step down, just a clarification for the record. The video will be entered as Moser Hearing Exhibit 1, and the call records will be admitted as Moser Hearing Exhibit 2. Just naming them properly for the record. All right, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're gonna take a quick 5-minute break and see if we can kind of figure out the feedback issue on the mics, so we don't have any more challenges. So we'll be back hopefully in 5 minutes.